Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today. Yes, another Ask Sharon Go Live. I'm so excited. Um, this is a topic that I think is very important to many of us, and I want to talk about why people fail. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while as a topic to do because, and in fact, I think if I had entitled this Ask Sharon Live, what I would have called it was being accountable, nobody would have showed up. And that's part of the issues is a lot of us are always ready to show up for learning and show up for everything. And then when it's something that is a class on accountability, not so much. And so I want to talk today about what keeps us back and why we don't just go with gusto and everything we want. There are a lot of people that are driven and we talk about the above and below the line. Let's talk about that. In human nature, below the line thinking is justifying our actions. Yeah, but, or laying blame. Well, it was their fault. It wasn't my fault. It was their fault. And that's kind of human nature, laying blame and justifying our actions. And when you want to go above the line, that's being responsible, accountable, and really standing in integrity for what you do and what your actions are. But it really sometimes is hard to be that way because we just assume like fly under the radar or fly under the line. We talk about gossip in the workplace is something that's just really it's a poison, and that poison is when we start laying blame and justifying is also part of that process, that we aren't really standing and being accountable. Now, one of the definitions of accountability is being responsible for your actions. And that's something that is, it just sounds so simple, doesn't it? But I've talked about the Think and Grow Rich when Napoleon Hill actually released and published it after spending almost his entire life writing it. In 1937, he was frustrated because he said, even though people know what they're supposed to do, they don't do it. And, I admit, I've been there, I've done that. It's something that even this week, there's some things I need to get done we're doing a full day of filming on Monday, and I procrastinate. Procrastination is kind of the enemy of accountability. And I used to think, well, of course I'm accountable, and I show up and do what I need to do, but I feel sometimes I need to add in the nick of time. Going through school, I remember I would study all night the night before the test. Of course, I could have studied the week before, but I waited till the last. So I wasn't really being accountable to myself for what would be the best way to do something. But I was able to just skirt in there at the last minute and still get the A on the test. So how are you showing up? Ask yourself, how are you showing up when it comes to being accountable? A lot of us, many times we're very, very accountable, and then we aren't. And maybe it's something that related to your family, your kids, or maybe it's something that from your perspective is related to your business. Why do people fail? I think people fail because they lack that accountability. They lack the willingness to do what they know they need to do. And a lot of it is when I talk about children. Yes, children were very curious and creative, and we go to school and we get taught conformity. And part of that is how we live in society, and we need to have that element of conformity. But then we go through school and we end up in our career and we become comfortable. And that comfort turns to complacency in many cases. And when we're complacent, sometimes we tend to stop being as accountable as we have been in the rest part as we were growing up. And certainly in school, we had instant feedback, right? With accountability. If you weren't doing something, you found out about it, you learned about it. And so that's something that we all have to pay attention to. Then we get out into the real world. And if you have a boss, you're accountable to the boss. But is that boss checking up on you, or is that boss trusting that you're going to do what you need to get the job done? And maybe you are the boss and you're dealing with this issue with your employees. And you just don't know how to get them to become more accountable. And part of that, we're going to talk about things we can do to have our workplace and our employees be more accountable. And part of that is setting the right expectations. If you're not accountable, how can you expect your employees to be accountable? And if you're not setting the expectations, giving them what we call SMART goals, things that they can attain, then maybe you might be the problem. So let's be accountable to ourselves. Let's set reasonable goals, SMART goals, and then instead of just expecting them to do it, let's celebrate when they do. So you create an atmosphere of celebration, and then they're going to want to continue moving towards other goals. Sometimes when you're kind of a perfectionist or you're so driven, you don't stop to celebrate. And when you don't do that, you're sacrificing your employee morale. So let's take that time to celebrate so that they want to now recalibrate and reposition to reach that next goal. Because that accountability goes all the way up and down the food chain. And it's important for you to set those expectations, but also celebrate. When the only thing they hear is being criticized or punished for not making goals, then they start losing that motivation to succeed. And so do a little bit of self-evaluation for your own company. Are you providing those incentives? Are you providing those celebrations that make people want to be accountable? Or are they feeling like no matter what they do, they can't win? I mean, I've been there. I've had that issue with myself and with employees, and even as a parent. Think about your own children. Are you mentoring them as a parent? Or are you enabling them? Because sometimes when we enable them for so long, that enabling becomes disabling. They stop being accountable because they say, mom will do it. The age-old story I tell oftentimes about the science fair. You walk into a science fair as a parent and you know which ones mom and dad did versus which ones the kids actually did. And the kids say, you jump in and help them with their project, you think you're being a great parent. And they think that's great initially, but then over certain courses of years, maybe they go, well, mom will do it, dad will do it. And they lose their incentive to be accountable. And so I challenge you to think about in your life as a parent or a caring adult for young people, but also for yourself. I often will use the example, and this is from personal experience. I'm not as apt to get up and make sure I make it to the gym unless there's somebody there waiting for me that is expecting for me to show up. Then I'm going to be more accountable. I'm actually going to be there. And that's something that I think is very important for all of us to realize, that is what life is all about. Are we being accountable to ourselves? Are we being accountable to ourselves? Only you can answer that question. Only you can determine whether maybe that's something you need to look at. We have some incredible people that we work with, and we do these meetings and calls all the time. And it's interesting. Everybody shows up when we're doing something about driving your business forward, momentum, new marketing techniques. But when we do something called accountability, even the most driven people don't show up. Maybe they don't think they need it. But sometimes it's because they don't really want to be faced with that question. Are you being as accountable as you need to be for your own success? And so I challenge you to think about that. And it's something that I'm excited. I see Buffy. Thank you so much and Ange and Kim Aries. Yes, accountability is the key. And Karen Tooley's online with us. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have all of you with me this morning. And I've got some incredible questions that have come in because, accountability, we think about numbers. Of course, my background as an accountant is all about numbers. If you can't measure it, it's hard to be accountable to it. But measurement is not always in numbers. Measurement is also not only your bottom line, but your morale, your own personal morale. Typically, we get a little lazy. When you're kind of lazy and indifferent, accountability doesn't usually swim in that same pool. And so are you being driven? Are you being accountable to your own personal results? If you're driven and accountable, the people around you will probably be more driven and accountable, because they will see your energy, see your focus. And so in a employment arena, think about, are you providing those incentives? Are you providing those goals? Are you providing that celebratory environment when people reach those goals? Because if you can facilitate their desire to be accountable, then you're going to see mega results, not only in your business, but in their life and their self-confidence. So let me get to some questions if you keep going. The real reason people fail. My name is Frank, and I currently live in Little Rock, Arkansas. At the beginning of every year, my family and I set savings goals. We've done this for the last 5 years and never hit our goal. Although we do end up saving for the year, we never come close to the goals we set. We look at the numbers and our goals have been doable, but then we get busy and eat out a lot or have other things that end up getting priority. Yeah, well, I bet how many of you feel that way? Things just take different priority. I would love to show my family that we can still do this, but don't know how to motivate the entire household. Any suggestions? Well, Frank, it's a great question. And I bet many of us are out there, we're feeling like you've kind of told our story as well. Part of when we have a family goal like that is to make sure the whole family is engaged in it and making it a game. Gamification is very popular today. When you want this savings goal, maybe what you do is you have a goal that you add the celebration piece to it. So you're going to save this amount of money, then you're going to celebrate by doing something, hopefully that doesn't use all that money, something that's not money related. But how do you continue supporting what you want and get everybody involved in doing it? And maybe what you're doing is you're not measuring often enough. And so, for instance, you have a year goal for savings. Are you checking it at the end of each month? It's a lot easier to make a connection or correction at month 1 of 12 months than it is to make a correction at month 11. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Karen. Mary, wonderful to have you with us. All of these questions are very valid, and I want you to think about it. How can you change what you're doing? Because if you don't change it, you're not going to get different results. So measuring it, set up celebrations that you can do when you start reaching that goal. Put a thermometer on the wall of auto suggestion key, according to Napoleon Hill. Put it on there so you see it every day. Put sticky notes everywhere. All of that's very important. It gives you the opportunity to continue encouraging yourself subliminally if you've got some reminder of it. Same for your kids, something that they want to do, have that reminder there, and then everybody participates and have that money conversation on a regular basis about how you're doing so that you continue to focus on achieving those goals. Next question. Hi, Sharon. Thank you in advance for answering your question. You're welcome. I hope I can answer it. I would like to start sharing more of my knowledge online with the goal of establishing myself as an expert. Fantastic. I watched your sessions on expert to authority. Thank you very much. Where do you suggest that I start? Okay, by the way, my name is Marie. I'm a child psychologist. I have seen how parents have been able to successfully work through issues with their kids. Unfortunately, though, I am finding parents are not investing the time and energy into successfully supporting their kids in a way that will be beneficial in the long run. I would really like to shift into helping people on a broader scale in hopes of removing myself from becoming as involved in family issues. Well, Marie, that's quite the loaded question. Lots of different issues there. But let's start with expert to authority. Yes, it sounds like you are an expert and you have seen insights, keen insights that can help other parents. And so start writing about it. Do a blog. Start doing a podcast. And of course, obviously you have client confidentiality issues, but you can always change the name to protect the innocent or the guilty. But anyway, ask yourself, how can you become the authority? It's by sharing that, giving an opportunity like I'm doing today under Ask Sharon to people to come to you and ask those questions and to provide your expertise, giving things that can help people take a step. And parents that aren't helping their kids. One of the things we just talked about a few minutes ago was, again, making sure your children have the opportunity to learn at an early age. I'd rather see a child fail or make a mistake at the age of 10 than at the age of 30. And so the issue is parents becoming the mentor or the guide, not the enabler. And that's something that's and I bet you have some keen insights into that. And I know there are very few parents out there that wouldn't want to pay attention to how they can do a better job parenting. But also, with the topic of our conversation today about why people fail, sometimes we just put it off. We say fly under the radar, or we put our head in the sand, hoping that a problem is going to go away, or hoping that a problem isn't real. And this is something I know, having raised 3 children and with 4 grandkids, you see it all the time. You say, when do you do tough love? Those things are, being a parent is the toughest job on earth, but you want to love them through it, and you want to make sure you're constantly vigilant. So accountability is also being vigilant and understanding what needs to happen so that you allow people to derail a little bit, but then you give them the opportunity to self-correct before you step in. And that self-correction is where they learn from their own actions, and they learn self-confidence because they see they can do it on their own. Hello, Israel. So happy to have you with us. As an aside, and this just popped in my head, but I still remember the day our youngest son graduated from boot camp in the Marines. And we were all there to celebrate and to be with him. We hadn't seen him in several months. So we're so proud of him. And he gave me a big hug and he said, "Mom, I did this all on my own." What an incredible gift to see that. So if you have children, think about, are you letting them feel that accomplishment, feel that celebration and success, they being accountable on what they say, what they do, and what they achieve. So being successful means that you've been accountable. Are some people lucky? Of course they are. But if you want a long-term life of success, have a long-term life of accountability and responsibility. And sometimes, you just change the dialogue. I've told you I don't like the word budgeting because it's got that negative connotation. So I tell people, set up a spending plan. Everybody likes to spend money. They don't like to budget. Budget is kind of a word of scarcity. Spending plan is more of an abundance mentality, but it allows you to think about how you can stay within certain guidelines. And same thing when it comes to accountability. Ask yourself, how can I, change the terminology from accountability to, progress measurement or momentum building. And, but at the end of the day, it's you looking in the mirror and saying, I'm accountable. So I really appreciate these questions, Frank. And I love this, Marie. Thank you for as a child psychologist, you have such an opportunity to help so many parents. So start doing it, start writing about it, start sharing and bringing people together and giving them the advice that they need to be able to be better parents. Next question. Hi, Sharon. This is Michael writing from St. Petersburg. Now, I don't know whether you're from St. Petersburg, Russia or Florida. I find that I start off on my goals very strong, and most of us do, but have difficulty finishing. This is the case in my personal life as well as in my business life. I'm not sure if it's because I'm setting goals that aren't really that important to me. Good point. Or just don't have the attention span for the process. I find that members of my team get frustrated with me and I'm concerned about losing credibility. That's an important issue, at least you've recognized it. Do you have a specific review process regarding reaching your benchmarks or your goals? Well, the first step I would say is recognizing that that might be a problem. And so I congratulate you, Michael, you're already there. And I've had a similar situation. You reach to a certain level of success and then you go, what's next? What's next? What else am I, what else do I need to pull together? Or, should I just sit back and celebrate that I've reached this far, or do I need a new goal? And so it's very important. And then sometimes people reach a goal, we've heard the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And sometimes that works for people, but a lot of times it doesn't, because you want to have intermediate goals that can be reached, that help you with your self-confidence. I'll give the example of, I may want to lose 50 pounds. Well, I'm going to give up on that goal pretty quickly if I don't start losing right away. But if I start I have that big goal of 50 pounds, and then I start working and I lose 5 pounds, and I'm happy with myself, and I celebrate by taking another walk or something, not by eating or drinking, but again, the next step. So 5 pounds, all of a sudden you're going to wake up and you're a lot closer to that 50-pound goal. So I challenge you, Michael, to start making smaller goals that you can achieve along the way to that bigger goal, to see if that helps you get more motivated to achieve and to get to where you want to go. And I want to address, I find that members of my team get frustrated with me and I'm losing credibility. Okay, they're frustrated with you. I'd like a little further definition on that, but I think that becomes maybe due to the fact that your expectations aren't clear for them. And I don't know if the members of your team are superior to you or subordinate to you. So in either case, communication is always the key. Where are you communicating your goals clearly? Are you communicating your expectations clearly? So many times we don't. And if we don't communicate our goals clearly, then can we expect others to perform at the level we expect? So again, communicating clearly is so, so important, because as you are accountable for yourself and you start achieving those goals, others are going to want to emulate you and they're going to be proud of you and they want to share with you. And so that's something that helps you from not just your family, but your team. But if you are losing interest, they're seeing that. And that when you lose interest, you lose excitement, you lose energy, and everybody can feel that. So find a way to spur on your excitement, your energy, to reevaluate, set clearer expectations, and then communicate them. Communicate them in a way that others will want to follow suit and set their own personal goals. It becomes kind of a goal sharing activity. And again, accountability partners are very important, because I'll show up at the gym if I know somebody's waiting for me there much more quickly than I'll show up on my own. And it's just human nature. And so have an accountability goal that you share, a partner that you will share what you want to accomplish in life, whether it be a physical goal, a business goal. And that accountability partner doesn't have to be a mentor. Remember, I've talked to you about that there's a difference between coach and mentor. Well, your accountability partner is kind of like your coach and they're their coach. You're coaching each other to make sure you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Let me make sure, I've got a lot of questions. So I want to make sure I get to all of them. Thank you for taking my question, Sharon. This is Olivia writing from Raleigh. Oh, I love Raleigh. It's a beautiful part of the country. I'm a mother of 3 children, ages 6, 10, and 15. That's a big spread, 6, 10, and 15. My youngest is at an age where school is still fun, and my 10-year-old has drive all on his own. Oh, please, thank every night for that one. My oldest, on the other hand, can't seem to get a groove in handling her responsibilities. How many of us relate to that statement? I spent a lot of time refocusing her and following up with her to make sure that she's getting her schoolwork done, as well as responsibilities at home. My concern is that pretty soon she will enter into an environment where people will not be willing to constantly follow up with her like I do. Perhaps there's a process or a tip you can offer on how you manage people in business that will help me motivate her at home. Well, thank you very much, Olivia. And I think some of this I've already talked a little bit about. So let's kind of recap some of the things I talked about for Frank and Marie and Michael. And that is being realistic on setting achievable goals and then celebrating them and sharing those expectations. However, when it comes to a child, and again, you have 3 children and they're very different. So how many of us relate to that? I had 3 children. There's like a triangle. They're all very different. But you can't make someone have that drive. They have to find it from within themselves. And it sounds like your middle child is a go-getter. Your oldest child that you're having the issues with. My concern for you at 15, you're no longer the major force on a 15-year-old. A parent isn't. It just is the case. Friends, music, internet. And so when they leave the nest, they need to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. And if mom always comes and saves them, then you may have a problem. I have so many stories I can share with people whose kids went off to college and they had straight A's in high school. They go to college and all of a sudden they're struggling because they haven't created that self-discipline. And so as hard as it might be, sometimes it's better to let a child experience that failure when they're still able to recover more quickly at home. And it's not going to create a problem for them into their adult life. And it's easier said than done. Today, many of us, our kids are raised in bubbles. We don't want them to fail. We want everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy. And it's something that I actually am very much against. But kids need to learn how to be resilient and how to find that it's, not everybody wins. And sometimes you have an issue. My absolute precious grandson, who just got straight A's, he's 11 years old, and he learned right after Christmas, when his report came out, he had all A's and a C. And he was actually in an elevated math class, and that was the class where he had the C. And he was very upset, and he found out that he had simply recorded something wrong because he's now old enough where he has to do certain things online. And so that C got corrected to an A, but the C is still on the permanent record. And so he didn't get on his, president's honor roll for that grading period. It was not very happy about it. And yet he's make sure everything is done the way it's supposed to be before the end of the grading period now. So I'm so proud of him, and he's bounced back. And it's like, I didn't know. He says, I didn't do it right. Now I know how to do it, and it's not going to happen again. So you see that self-confidence raising from him. And it's something that I'm really proud of him. And he just got straight A's again. So he did it right. But how many times do we see that in kids where mom and dad steps in to save them or to make things disappear? And it's hard. It's hard when to use that tough love, and it's hard when to know to support a child through a difficult period. But love them through it, allow them to experience and recover. And I guarantee you, in the long run, that child will be better for it. Hi, Sharon. Raul here. Hi, Raul. I hope if you're my Raul, I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm a small business owner with a storefront bakery. Oh, this different Raul. I have a team of 3 people that work with me. I focus on specialty treats and desserts that would be difficult to find in other bakeries. I really want this to be my niche, but find that not all team members have my attention to detail and quality. I believe they have the skill, which is most important. Do you have any ideas you can share on how to excite my team members to take as much pride in the quality of their work that I take in mine? Well, Raul, some of the things I've already discussed about making sure your expectations are clear, but in your specific case, I challenge you, maybe you have 3 people who work for you and they do different things, but maybe there's a day, Tuesdays are, you shine one of those employees, and they're the ones who have the front shelf space in your store, where they feel like you're putting them out there as an expert in what they do, because you say they all have the skill. Maybe giving them the opportunity to have a little spotlight will get them more excited and more accountable and more team focused. Sometimes when you are the expert, you're the authority, and they're there to support you, maybe they start feeling there's not enough light to go around. So show them the opportunity for them to excel and for you to share a little bit of that spotlight. I often tell leaders, duck when there's praise, stand up when there's criticism. And it's something that goes a long way for getting that team morale up and helping them continue to focus and be there. But sometimes, people may just not have the motivation that you have. And so then you have to determine what does motivate them, and can they still fill a supportive role in your organization? And if they can, then continue moving forward and understand that the way they work is different than the way you work, and acknowledge it, accept it, and put that into your expectations, as long as they're achieving the goals that they have for themselves. Because that individual accountability is hugely important in everyone's success, whether you are on your own or in a team environment or driving your own business, raising your children. Pay attention to how your children become accountable, just as we talked about with Olivia, 3 different children, 3 different mindsets, 3 different personalities. And so you may have to change how you parent each child to make sure that you are there to motivate them to be as accountable as possible, for them to create that self-confidence and drive. Hello, Genesis. Oh, what a pretty name. And Alex, thank you for joining us. And here's Amelia. My name is Amelia, and I'm a recent college graduate. Congratulations. I've been working on a part-time business for 2 years and can't seem to gain any traction. How many of us can feel that pain? Although I did get a real job, she has that in quotes, after graduating, I would really love my business to be my full-time work. How do you know if my business isn't going to work because it isn't a good idea, or if it's just because I haven't figured it out yet? I'm not sure I'm ready to throw in the towel, but what I am doing now isn't getting me anywhere. My business offers design services for people looking to get better use out of their spaces at home or in the office. Well, my first question is, do you love what you do? Helping people get organized in their office or home. Sign me up. And if you love what you do, then you probably have done a really good job and you've got testimonials. So are you sharing those testimonials? Are you asking those customers that you've helped to share with their friends or to refer you? Today, referral business is the key to success. And so in 2 years out, do not lose enthusiasm. I talk about successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need. Well, you're definitely solving a problem and serving a need. People need to be better organized. And so there's a huge need out there. You just need to get the word out. And the best way to do that is through people you have helped. So it might be that you want to offer to do it for free for somebody who is an influencer, somebody who's known in their industry, and may be able to refer to you, and let them know up front, I'd love to do this for you. And I'm not going to charge you because I really respect you and I know you are an influencer. And so if you are happy with what I do for you, would you be willing to refer me a few clients? And then give me a testimonial as well. And so that allows you to see, without having to spend any money for the marketing, you have tremendous marketing power. And so many times people that have designed purses or things will send them to celebrities for free in hopes that there'll be a picture of the celebrity walking down the street with their bag or their shoes. And that's something that placement marketing is a huge issue. What you do is a service relation, and same issue. You want to get somebody who can refer you to other clients that are at their same economic level. And so think about that. Think about who can you approach to help get them to support you doing it for free. They get a benefit, but no, go into it with clear expectations. And again, you're being accountable to wanting to take care of their space, but you're also being accountable to your business by having clear expectations up front that if they are happy with your service, this is what they would agree to do. Rather than pay you, they're going to introduce you to other people, give you a testimonial. Because today, testimonials are some of the most powerful tools you can possibly have. And then I would encourage you, Amelia, to think about what you're doing now and what needs to change, because what you've been doing hasn't helped you grow your business. Now, don't quit your day job. You know, one of the things, we don't need to add financial stress. So don't quit your day job until you start seeing an increase in your business, because that business can get to the point where it replaces your job income. But if you quit your job and you're financially stressed, it just makes it's harder to be accountable for what you want when you're stressed out about money. And we'll bring you back to my statement: you're either a master of your money or a slave to it. And so keep the day job to keep food on the table, but start focusing, and then time block. This is something that I've shared with many of my clients. Time block allows you to set aside a certain amount of time. And that's one way to kind of force accountability on yourself, because life gets in our way. We have so many things, priorities get in our way. And that's something that I think all of us need to think about. When we allow priorities to stop us, other priorities to keep us, move our focus from where we are to from where we want to go to whatever is current, and that shiny object syndrome, that keeps us from being accountable. So ask yourself, are you suffering from shiny object syndrome, allowing things to take your focus away? Or are you really dedicated to achieving your results? Because sometimes we say we're not accountable, but we just aren't passionate enough. And maybe we have the wrong target, the wrong goal. So to ask yourself, I want to be successful. How much do you want it? You know, Les Brown says, are you hungry? All right, be accountable to your goal, but make sure that goal is something that gets you passionate and allows you to feed that drive. And if you can feed that drive, then you can be more accountable. The number one reason people fail is a lack of accountability to themselves. Are you being accountable to yourself? Is it measurable? Do you have that big, hairy, audacious goal? And do you have in-between goals that you're willing to achieve and celebrate on your way to that big, hairy, audacious goal? And at the end of the day, only you can determine if you truly have been flying under the radar or being accountable, living above that line, being accountable and responsible. Or are we living below the line, laying blame and justifying? So take a moment as I close this out today. Sit in reflection. Ask yourself, am I keeping myself from the greatest success and the success that I deserve because I'm not being accountable to me? And we all have it. Every day I have to reassess my own level of accountability and making sure I'm focused on what I truly do want. So thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. And please share this with your networks. It's something that I've really enjoyed doing, and I'm excited with all the questions that I get. And please share it and come back to see me next Wednesday, same time, and submit your questions to info@SharonLechter.com. If there's a topic you want me to discuss, send it in, because we really set the topics at the very beginning of the week, each week, whatever feels us to that point. And oh, hello, Reed. Wow, haven't seen you in a long time. Wonderful to hear you. And Katula, Alex, I'm so excited. And Karen, I always love that you're with me every week. But again, ask yourself, are you accountable enough to yourself? Not to anybody else, but to yourself. So take a moment in reflection. Have a beautiful day. Love you all. Thanks so much for being with me.